Good morning. It's Yvonne DiVita and Kirsten Bunch. And today, on Nurturing Big Ideas today, we're going to talk a little bit about reinvention. We're going to talk about how to take your life where you want it to go in your next act. And my guest, Kirsten Bunch, is a 20-year career. She has a 20-year career in global development where she helped fundraise and raise $20 million. I mean, that number, Kirsten, is just, it's like, I was involved and had co-founded a small pet blogging influencer community where we had a yearly conference, and we thought raising $500,000 was a lot of money. So I'm very impressed with that, and I know how hard that is. She's designed social change programs in 10 countries. This is something else that is just phenomenal. The stories that you tell in your book about the countries that you visited touched my heart in more ways than I can say. And she has now created the Women's Changemaker Mentorship. So welcome, Kirsten. And let's start with the Women's Changemaker Mentorship, because I want to hear exactly how maybe you sat down and said, this is what I'm going to do now.
Yeah, absolutely. And first of all, Yvonne, thank you so much for having me and for reading my book. And I'm really excited to talk about this work and in my work and the incredible work that my clients are doing. So the Women's Changemaker Mentorship, I went through my own reinvention, and I talk about that in my book, and the work that I do now is primarily with women, mostly women in mid-career, but I don't have a big role on that want to do something else. They're thinking, okay, what's my next act? What else am I going to do for the next 20, 25 years of my life? Because as we know, retirement is no longer at 60.
No.
Definitely not for most people, but some people want to, but often we get to the age around 50 and we're just like, okay, what am I going to do for the next 20, 25 years of my life? I don't want to keep doing what I've been doing, but I don't know what to do. I don't even know where to start. My skills aren't worth anything, which is what people tell themselves, which isn't true at all. So when I was going through my own reinvention, one of the things that really struck me was this conversation that I had been having over and over again throughout my career. So as you said, my career was in global development. I traveled all over the world and started and managed programs in a whole bunch of different countries, from Afghanistan to Mexico to El Salvador, and got to a point in my career where I was asking myself, what am I doing here? Basically, I have this story where I was standing on a dirt road in Bangladesh and loving my work, but this voice in my head said, what am I doing here? And this kind of launched, there's a longer process than that, but I launched into this whole reinvention of deciding what I wanted to do. And one of the things that kept coming up was this conversation that I've been having with people that went something like, oh, wow, I really love what you do. That's cool. You just came back from, Egypt. That's great. And wow, you're doing this cool work. And I have this idea for a new business or a nonprofit or a new career, and someday I'm going to do that. But I gotta wait, I gotta wait till my kids are grown. I gotta wait until whatever, I have enough money, 401k, whatever. There was always like some caveat to that.
Yeah.
And so I just woke up one day and I was just like, you know what, people, someday is here. And if I can help you create that next act, if I can help you kind of get past your hesitation, your questions and stuff like that, then I'm going to do a really good job for you, and I'm going to do something good for the world, because women and men, I don't want to exclude it. I don't want to, and I don't want to exclude on any gender. We have these skills, these talents, these ideas, these networks that are very valuable, and we don't use them enough often. And we don't see how they can be applied to creating strong, healthy businesses and strong, healthy communities.
Yeah. So this is Kirsten's book. I got to do it right. And I have a blog post about it on the blog. But in the very beginning, by the way, your story in the introduction, it did make me cry. It was so wonderful, and it embodies so much of what women in I don't want to say in general, but what women as a group often want to do, accomplish, or be. And we don't all get to go to all the different countries, but we do have opportunity here from, I'm working from my office in my home. Doesn't mean I don't go out and meet people, but what I'm trying to say is women have these networks, as you say, and some of them connect us via social media today. I have so many friends I've met through social media. It's amazing. Early on in the book, and I really want to read this because it really struck me as important in the whole concept of Changemaker. And you say how this book will help you. This is a sentence or two from there. Giving back doesn't have to mean returning a gift to others. It can mean giving back to yourself. It can mean giving back to the dreams of how you were going to make change in the world as a young college graduate. I was so totally struck by how that was me. And I wanted, as a young college graduate, to be a writer that would change the world with my words. And yet I went on and became an animal technologist. And I worked in a veterinary office. And there's a long story about how I got to where I am today, where I am using my words. But it struck me because I think so many people step back or shy away from the concept of change, changemaker, reinvention. Tell us some of your experiences with that and your clients, perhaps.
So my experience with reinvention, or the idea of kind of finding your route, as I say, or finding your path forward. Yeah. Yes. So for me, I thought I was in the career that I wanted to be in, and I had worked really, really hard to get where I was. I have a couple of master's degrees. I took the jobs that would get me to the next level, and I was kind of the person who willingly would jump on a plane and go wherever I could because I wanted to see the world. I'm originally from upstate New York, and I wanted to see the world, and this was a way to do it. And I wanted to be involved in something that had a mission and that had a purpose. I was never attracted to, just making money or something like that. So there's this whole thing around community and being part of that. So for me, it was a real shock when I started to think about, what I really want to do is I kind of want to have my own business and see what that's like and see if I can do that. I had never run a business before. I mean, I had helped people start micro businesses and had started, like I said, a bunch of programs and stuff like that. But running my own business, what would that be like? Right?
Yeah, I think, and I talk about that occasionally because the word business, I've discovered, with some women scares them away, and they say, and I've talked to them, and they say, well, I don't want to spend all that time on things like bookkeeping and all that. I just want to do this thing that I'm passionate about, and maybe make some money and help my community. And I try gently to say to them, well, that is a business, and you don't have to be afraid of it.
Well, yeah, and the beautiful thing is that, of course, there's always in a business there's bookkeeping and stuff like that. But the beautiful thing is it's so easy to have other people do that for you now. Mm-hmm. And, you can basically find anybody to do anything in your business and just by a Google search, more or less, maybe a little more complicated than that. But
right. Well, there are the networks. And so you tap into your network and you say, do you know someone who can help me do this? Where can I find a really good bookkeeper? Where can I find an administrative assistant? Where can I find someone who's going to do that business part? I mean, I don't do numbers. So if there's numbers involved, somebody else better do that, because Yvonne will mess it up if she does it. So yes. And I think also for me, it's a matter of pride to say I have my own business. And I don't create wonderful jewelry or quilts or things that I see other women do with their amazing talent. But I do create connections and training and things like that. So it's my business and I'm proud of it.
Yeah.
It isn't easy. It isn't easy at all.
Yeah, and one of the things, I work with my clients so I would say about 75–80% of my clients start businesses, and they're all, for the most part, businesses that have some social component to it. They're doing something good in the community, whether it's through a give back model or it's the actual business. For example, one of my clients who was an executive at S&P for years and kind of quit and had to figure out what she was doing next, way too young to retire. To me, it's a kind of joke because she sort of tethered herself to me so that she would sort of not fly off in her new life. Because what happens if you're used to showing up to an office every day and then all of a sudden you don't have that, that's a big emotional thing. It could be a financial thing too, depending on, obviously, if you haven't planned right. But emotionally, holy cow, like, it's really important to get help so that you're not staring in front of your computer going, why can't I figure this out? Why can't I figure this out? Like, we can't figure it out ourselves, basically. Unless you're, some people can, but
yeah.
Yeah.
So you decided this women's mentorship, but I'm really fascinated by the word Changemaker. And I think it really brings to me the mind of what you and some of what I'm trying to do as different than reinvention. So reinvention is out there. It's been out there forever. I see articles and I read books on how to reinvent yourself. And, they're all the way back to when I was a kid, people were writing about that. But Changemaker, that is a new concept. Tell me about how you chose that word and what it means in your work.
Sure. Well, Changemaker is a word that in my world and working for international organizations has been around for a while. And traditionally it's the idea of, making change somehow, right? But being the person that is creating good things, using science, using technology, using arts, whatever, to advocacy to fix some sort of problem in the world, or to make, you don't necessarily have to be fixing a problem, you could be making something even better. So that's where I started with it, and my vision really was, because I looked around and I'm like, here we are, all these women, like I said, with all these skills and talents and networks, why not apply them to making change in the world and being change makers? But what I've discovered over the years of my work is that women are coming and they're saying, I'm in this period of reinvention. And so reinvention is a word that we've heard for years and decades maybe. But when you hit that point in your life, you really wake up to that word, and it's a very confusing time, and it's a very there's, it's almost like, because there's so many resources out there, it helps to have, a few specific go-to resources. But what I'm finding is that people aren't coming to me and saying, okay, I'm 50 and I really want to become an investment banker, right? What they're doing is they're coming to me and saying, I'm 50 and I really want to start this community bakery, or I have this idea for a philanthropic advisory firm. So to me, it's people are wanting to do something good in the world. They're wanting to, give back. And I admittedly have a little bit of a problem with that term, even though it's the title of my book, because it means so many things to different people. Right. But it's almost like I talk about in the book, giving back to yourself, becoming the person that you want to be in this moment, in this time in your life, and finding a way to fulfill your spiritual need and your whether that's from a religious point of view or not, and finding something that really fits right for you. or what is a right fit for you. And one of the things that I find really interesting, because I'm like fascinated, like, why is this? Why do we go through this period of our life when we are mid-career? So I turned 50 this year. So, and I've been struggling. Thank you. Yeah, October. So big party. I don't know what I'm going to do yet, but
I want an invitation.
Absolutely. So I'm thinking, I mean, I have been reading a lot about this, and I was reading this book about menopause and hormonal change during perimenopause and menopause. And there is this piece, and I don't have it in front of me, that where the woman who wrote it, totally blanking on her name, but I can tell you later, so you can put that on the notes if you wanted. But and she talks about, with hormonal changes, your hormones, you know, calming down a little bit or revving up in another way, you go through this change where you have time to focus on things that are more spiritual, more connected to you, like trying to figure out where you are and how you show up in the world in a new way. So I'm fascinated by this idea of, like, you know, this biological reason why we go through this period of our life.
I find that really interesting because I have been through that. I'm approaching my 68th birthday soon, and you know, there wasn't and hasn't been a lot of information on menopause because traditionally women didn't live that long, so they didn't go through it. And that's what I was reading. And I think it's different, of course, for every woman, even for sisters. My sisters are experiencing different phases of it than I am. And I will be open and honest out here. I had a hysterectomy at 38. So mine is entirely different than someone else's. But it's interesting that you mention how that gives us a chance, or it's a biological thing for reflection, because I find that's what I'm doing. I find in the last 10 years I've been very reflective or looking back and thinking about my family, the history, and my mom. My mom passed almost 2 years ago, and I'm now saying I should have asked her more questions. I should have learned more about her life. We talked, you know, like families do, but suddenly I'm sitting here going, but I didn't ask her this. I don't know what my mother wanted to be when she grew up. I just know what she became. And she was a very successful entrepreneur, which maybe that's why I do what I do. But I think it's important to recognize and understand a little bit of the idea of reflection then. So you hit 50 or 55, and yes, you want then to take your life maybe in a new direction. It doesn't mean you're a different person, but from what I read and some of what you write, it's time then to say, I now can do this thing that I didn't get to do when I was 20. You know, take the talent and turn it into magic.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. And I think, and it may not even be that you have some unfulfilled dream that you had when you're 20. Maybe you've done what you wanted to do, and now you need something new to challenge you, and to excite you. And that's, you know, one of the things that I found when I was creating my program is that there's a lot of programs for people in their 20s to start businesses, to start social enterprises, social businesses, impact businesses, whatever you want to call them. But for people in their 40s, 50s, and 60s, you know, it's not out there as much, because we, at a certain age, we're sort of expected to start mentoring younger people, which is fine, and that's awesome if you want to do that, or do that in addition to something else. But I do think I'm not going to be counted out. Like, I'm not ready. I'm not anywhere near done, and my clients are nowhere near done. They are really just launching into a really exciting time in their lives. They're figuring out how to move forward and where they fit in this world. And the world is really changing in many ways. And, you know, if you are 20 and you were born with a phone in your hand, basically, it's a different world for somebody like that versus like maybe you and I starting a business. Like, you're a little more experienced online than I am, but one of the things that really comes up with me and my clients in business is this idea of brand. And that because I am a coach and a strategist for people who are in that reinvention stage of their life, whether you're 20 or you're 70. And my brand is me. And for the past 25 years, I worked for organizations. And I mean, I've been running my business for a few years now, but I work for organizations. But now it's me. I'm out there. I'm the brand, and that's something that doesn't come natural to a lot of us that are above the age of 40.
Yes, I would agree. I think that understanding your brand is you, and it isn't always what you make, is a challenge for a lot of the women that I work with, because the women that I work with are creating things with their hands, so to speak. Some of them are trying to create programs and teaching and training in some area or another, but I look at all of them and I want them to understand the importance of your voice. So I call it their voice. It is their brand, but their voice is everything about them. It isn't just what you say or what comes out of your mouth. It's how you dress, how you walk, how you speak in public, who you meet with. And so we have this voice, women in general, and together collectively, our voice can accomplish great things. And so I love what you're doing, and I love the idea of Changemaker and mentoring. Mentoring seems to me to be much more powerful than coaching, in a sense, because so many people now are coaching, and I'm not quite sure sometimes what that means. I like the idea of mentoring. So Kirsten, this has been so fascinating. I mean, I could go on talking with you. I could go on reading from the book, because you see, I have so many little posts.
I love it.
I'm putting out on Facebook and Twitter. It's my #1 book of the year.
Thank you.
And it's just something, because not just from what people can learn or take or then connect with you and perhaps work with you, but from the perspective of looking at women as a group, but also men. I mean, there are so many men that are, I say, we have husbands, brothers, fathers who work with us, who want to see us succeed, and vice versa. So it's a collaborative thing, but the women have been underserved in this area. And so I'm really not just fascinated, but I'm really excited that you're there working with them and offering them this insight. So we're going to wind up today. And Kirsten, where can people find you if they want to get in touch with you?
Yeah, so the best way is on my website. So spell my name. It's www, and then it's KirstenBunch.com. And on my website, you can get my book. You can also get my book on Amazon. So Next Act, Give Back. It's the only book with that name, so it makes it easy to find. But on my website, you can also sign up for my blog. My blog is called Change the World in a Hot Flash. And
very cool.
Thanks. And I write every week, or at least I try really hard to write every week about different topics of reinvention and change making, and really what it's like to kind of put yourself out there and launch into something new and exciting and change up your life and hopefully change your community a bit too.
Awesome. Well, Kirsten, perhaps we can do this again next year and connect and talk a little bit more, because I think this is a subject that I will never get tired of. So this is Yvonne DiVita from Nurturing Big Ideas today, and our guest, Kirsten Bunch, and her book, Next Act, Give Back. It's been a pleasure. Thank you.